The chains around my wrists were ceremonial, thin enough to break, heavy enough to humiliate. I knelt in the center of the HFY war chamber, while 300 alien warriors watched their supreme commander claim her prize. "This one killed 17 of my soldiers," Warlord Vexara announced, her voice echoing off obsidian walls. She circled me slowly, her crimson armor catching the torchlight. 17. With nothing but a broken rifle and a combat knife. I didn't look up, didn't give them the satisfaction. The tradition demands I take a trophy from the conquered. Her boot stopped inches from my face. "I choose him." A murmur rippled through the crowd. One of her lieutenants stepped forward, a scarred giant with tusks that curved past his jaw. "Commander, surely a weapon or a ship would serve better than—" "Are you questioning me, crap?" The silence that followed was absolute. "The human stays," Vexara said. "Meeting adjourned." They led me to her quarters, a sparse room carved from the same black stone as everything else on this God's forsaken moon. A single window overlooked the battlefield, where my entire platoon had died 3 days ago. I could still see the wreckage of our transport burning in the distance. "You may sit." I remained standing. Vexara removed her helmet, and I got my first real look at her. The HFY were humanoid enough. 2 arms, 2 legs, faces that could almost pass for human in bad lighting. But their skin was the color of deep bruises. Their eyes burned amber like dying stars, and their teeth were built for tearing flesh. She was tall, taller than me by half a head. And despite everything, the war, the losses, the fact that I was now property, I couldn't help noticing that she moved like someone who had earned every scar on her body. "You're not afraid," she observed. "I'm too tired to be afraid, honest." She sat on the edge of her bed, studying me with those predator's eyes. "My soldiers say you fought for 6 hours without stopping. They say you carried a wounded comrade for 2 miles while being pursued. They say you only surrendered when he died in your arms." I said nothing. "His name?" The question caught me off guard. "What, the soldier you carried? What was his name? Why do you care?" She tilted her head, a gesture that looked almost human, "Because you clearly did." For a long moment, I just stared at her. This wasn't how captivity was supposed to work. This wasn't the torture or the interrogation or the slow death I'd been preparing myself for. "Rodriguez," I finally said. "Private First Class Miguel Rodriguez." He was 22 years old, and he had a daughter back on Earth he'd never met. Vexara nodded slowly. "I have lost soldiers too. Many of them." "Then why the hell are we fighting this war?" Something flickered across her face, too fast to identify. "That is a conversation for another time. For now, you need to understand your situation." She gestured around the room. "You will sleep here. You will eat here. You will not leave this wing of the fortress without my permission. And if I try to escape, you won't. That confident in your security? That confident in your pragmatism." She stood, crossing to a small cabinet. "You're stranded on a moon with no atmosphere, surrounded by enemies, with no ship and no allies. Escape would mean death. You don't strike me as someone who wastes their life meaninglessly." She poured 2 glasses of something dark and set one on the table near me. I didn't touch it. "What exactly do you want from me?" I asked. "Company." I laughed, a harsh, broken sound. "You took me as a trophy because you want company? I took you as a trophy because tradition demanded I take something. I chose you because in 20 years of warfare, you're the first enemy who's made me curious." She picked up her glass, swirling the liquid inside. "My people don't understand humans. You're soft. Fragile. You die easily, and your lifespans are laughably short. Yet somehow you keep surviving. Keep fighting. Keep winning battles you have no business winning. We're stubborn. It's more than that." She took a drink, her eyes never leaving mine. I want to understand what drives a species like yours. Consider it. Research. And I'm supposed to just cooperate? Help you figure out how to beat us. The war is already over, Sergeant Cole. She said my rank like she'd known it all along. Your fleet withdrew from this sector 3 days ago. There's no one coming to rescue you and nothing you could tell me that would change the outcome. So you can spend the next however many years being miserable and defiant, or you can accept that this is your life now and make the best of it. I finally picked up the glass. The liquid smelled like smoke and something sweet underneath. You said years. How long are you planning to keep me? The Kethvari don't discard our trophies. She met my eyes. You belong to me now, Sergeant, for the rest of your life. I drank. It burned going down. That was the first night. 6 months into my captivity, I finally admitted to myself that Vexara wasn't what I'd expect. She was brutal, yes. I'd seen her execute a soldier for cowardice without hesitation. She was demanding, driving her warriors through training exercises that would have broken most humans. And she was utterly uncompromising in battle, leading from the front with a savagery that explained how she'd risen to command at such a young age. But she was also fair. Her punishments were harsh but never arbitrary. She listened to her advisors even when she disagreed with them. And despite what I was, enemy prisoner, trophy, she never once treated me with cruelty. You're thinking too loudly, she said, not looking up from her tactical display. We were in her war room, where I'd become a strange fixture over the months. She'd started bringing me to strategy sessions, claiming she wanted a human perspective on their campaigns. I suspected she was just bored. Just trying to figure you out. Any progress? Some? I leaned back in my chair, a concession she'd granted after the first month, when she realized I wasn't going to try anything stupid. You're not a sadist. You don't enjoy killing. But you do it anyway, because you believe in something. She looked up at that. And what do I believe in? Your people. Kethvar. I gestured at the display showing fleet positions across the sector. This war isn't about conquest for you. It's about survival. For a long moment, she was silent. Then, how did you reach that conclusion? You don't celebrate victories. Your soldiers don't pillage or plunder. Everything you take, resources, territory, prisoners, gets fed back into your war machine or sent home. I shrugged. That's not how empires behave. That's how refugees behave. Vexara set down her stylus. Our homeworld is dying. Has been for 3 generations. Solar degradation, they call it. Our sun is burning too hot, too fast. In 50 years, maybe less, Kethvar Prime will be uninhabitable. She turned to face me fully. We need new worlds. New resources. Room for our children to grow. And you picked a fight with humanity because we're sitting on habitable planets. We picked a fight with humanity because you refused to share them. We offered settlements. You offered scraps. Her voice hardened. A few moons here, a barren rock there. Nothing that could sustain our population. Nothing that would give us a future. She stood, moving to the window. The same window that overlooked the battlefield where my friends had died. We didn't want this war, Sergeant, but we won't apologize for fighting it. I should have felt anger. Should have defended my species, my people, the billions of humans who'd never asked to be invaded. But looking at her, really looking, I saw something I recognized. Exhaustion. The weight of impossible choices. The knowledge that no matter what you do, people are going to die. How long have you been commanding? I asked quietly. 12 years. How old were you when you started? 16. Jesus Christ. She'd been leading soldiers into battle since she was a teenager. Fighting a war she'd inherited, for stakes she hadn't chosen, against an enemy she didn't hate. I was 18 when I enlisted, I said. Thought I was going to see the galaxy. Make a difference. I laughed bitterly. Spent 12 years watching friends die and wondering what any of it was for. Vexara turned. You still wonder? Every damn day? Something shifted in her expression. Not softness exactly. Captivity didn't do soft, but something close. Recognition, maybe. The acknowledgement that we were both soldiers carrying burdens we'd never asked for. I have a mission tomorrow, she said. A supply depot the humans are defending. My intelligence says minimal resistance, but intel is always wrong. Usually. She hesitated, something I'd never seen her do. Would you come with me? As what? A prisoner. A mascot? As an advisor. She met my eyes. You know how humans think. How they fight. Your insights could prevent unnecessary deaths on both sides. You're asking me to help you attack my own people. I'm asking you to help me end a battle quickly and cleanly, instead of letting it turn into a bloodbath. She stepped closer. I've seen the way you flinch when casualty reports come in. Theirs and ours. You don't want more death any more than I do. She was right. God help me, she was right. If I help you, I said slowly, I want something in return. Name it. Prisoners get treated humanely. Real medical care, decent food, eventual repatriation, if there's ever a peace agreement. Done. Pay. Just like that. I don't mistreat prisoners, Cole. Never have. She extended her hand, a human gesture she'd learned somewhere. Do we have an agreement? I took her hand. Her skin was cooler than a human's, the grip stronger. Against my better judgment, yeah, we do. The mission went exactly as she'd hoped. Minimal casualties on both sides. The human commander surrendered when he realized he was outmatched, and I talked him through what to expect from Captivity custody. He looked at me like I was a traitor. Maybe I was. But that night, when Vexara found me staring out the window at the stars, she didn't gloat or celebrate. She just stood beside me in silence, two soldiers carrying their respective guilts. You did a good thing today, she finally said. Tell that to the families of the soldiers I helped defeat, the families of soldiers who are still alive because the battle ended quickly. I think they would understand. She paused. War is never clean, Cole. The best we can do is make it less ugly. I didn't respond. But when she left, I didn't feel as alone as I had in months. 3 years. 3 years of strategy sessions and shared silences. 3 years of watching her lead and learning why her soldiers worshipped her. 3 years of becoming something I never expected. Her friend. You're getting slow, old man. I blocked her strike and countered with one of my own. We started sparring 6 months ago. Her idea, something about keeping her skills sharp against human opponents. In reality, I think she just enjoyed having someone who wouldn't let her win. I'm 34, I grunted, dodging a kick. That's not old. For a human, that's practically ancient. She swept my legs out from under me, and I hit the mat hard. A second later, her hand appeared in my vision. You're supposed to check your surroundings. I've told you 1,000 times. I took her hand and let her pull me up. And I've told you 1,000 times that human joints don't bend that way. Excuses. But she was smiling, a rare thing that I'd learned to treasure over the years. Captivity didn't smile often, and when Vexara did, it transformed her face into something almost gentle. Commander. We both turned. Krath stood in the doorway, his expression grave. In 3 years he'd gone from openly hostile toward me to grudgingly respectful. I counted that as progress. What is it? Vexara asked, the smile vanishing instantly. Long-range sensors detected a human battle group entering the sector. 12 ships, including 2 carriers. He glanced at me, then back to her. They're heading directly for us. My blood went cold. 12 ships was a serious strike force. The kind you sent when you wanted to destroy something completely. How long until they arrive? 18 hours. Maybe less if they push their engines. Vexara nodded slowly. Begin evacuation of non-essential personnel. I want all fighters prepped and ready within 6 hours. And Krath. She waited until he met her eyes. Not a word of this leaves this room until I address the troops personally. He saluted it and left. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Then Vexara walked to the window, always that window, and stared out at the stars. You should be with them, she said quietly. With your people. My people left me for dead 3 years ago. They might not have known you survived. If you signal them, tell them who you are. I'm not leaving. She turned, something unreadable in her amber eyes. Cole, I'm not leaving, I repeated. You really think I'd abandon you now? After everything, I think you'd be a fool not to. This base isn't designed to withstand a full assault. We'll hold them as long as we can, but... She didn't finish. She didn't need to. Then we hold them together. I crossed to stand beside her. You once told me the Kethvari don't discard their trophies. Well, this trophy has teeth. And he's not going anywhere. For a second, just a second, I thought I saw her eyes glisten. Then she straightened. All business again. If we survive this, I'm promoting you. To what? Head trophy? Chief Tactical Advisor Dart. It's a real rank. Comes with actual authority and everything. She almost smiled. My officers will hate it. Then let's survive, just to see their faces. The next 18 hours were chaos. Evacuation transports launched every few minutes, carrying civilians and wounded to secondary positions deeper in Kethvari space. Warriors ran through final weapons checks. Engineers reinforced blast doors and shored up defense systems. And through it all, Vexara was everywhere, commanding, reassuring, preparing her people for what might be their last stand. I found her in the war room an hour before the human fleet arrived. She was alone, staring at the tactical display, and for the first time since I'd known her, she looked afraid. Hey. She didn't turn. You should be in the bunker with the other non-combatants. Probably. I moved to stand beside her. But I thought you could use some company. A sound escaped her, not quite a laugh. Company. You remember that first night? Hard to forget. You were terrifying. And you were stubborn. Now she did turn, and I saw exhaustion written in every line of her face. I never told you why I really chose you. You said you were curious. I lied. She took a breath. I chose you because when you looked at me, bleeding, defeated, in chains, you didn't look away. Every other human I'd captured, they either cowered or screamed or spat defiance. But you just looked at me like I was a person. Her voice softened. Do you know how long it had been since anyone looked at me like that? Not a commander, or a warlord, or a symbol. Just me. Vexara, if I don't survive this, I need you to know that these 3 years have been... She struggled for words. I didn't expect to have a friend. I didn't think I was capable of it anymore. So whatever happens today, nothing's happening today. I cut her off. Not to you. Not while I'm breathing. Cole, be realistic. I am being realistic. I grabbed her shoulders, forcing her to look at me. I've watched you lead for 3 years. I've seen you do impossible things. And I'll be damned if I'm going to stand here and let you give up before the fight even starts. She stared at me. You really believe we can win? I believe in you. The words came out before I could stop them. I've believed in you for longer than I wanted to admit. So yeah, we might die today. But we might not. And I'd rather go down fighting beside you than hide in a bunker waiting for the end. Slowly, her hand came up to cover mine. Her cool fingers wrapped around my wrist, and I felt her pulse. Rapid, strong, alive. Together then, she said. Together. The battle lasted 9 hours. 9 hours of explosions and screaming metal and the endless thunder of weapons fire. 9 hours of watching ships die on both sides, Kethvari and human alike. 9 hours of Vexara commanding with a clarity and ferocity that made me understand why her people followed her into hell. We lost. Of course, we lost. 12 ships against a single base was never going to end any other way. But we cost them. 6 ships destroyed, 2 more crippled. Enough damage that when they finally broke through our defenses, they didn't have enough forces left to press the advantage. When the ceasefire was called, I was unconscious in the medical bay with a collapsed lung and second-degree burns across my back. I had taken the hit meant for her, thrown myself between Vexara and an explosion that would have killed her, and I regretted nothing. I woke up 3 days later to find her sitting beside my bed. "You're an idiot," she said. "Good morning to you too. You could have died. So could you." I tried to sit up and immediately regretted it. What happened? Truce. Temporary, but real. She looked exhausted, dark circles under her eyes, her armor replaced by simple robes. The human commander wanted to negotiate. Something about reassessing the conflict in light of unexpected losses. That's military speak, for we got our asses kicked harder than expected. Essentially. She hesitated. They asked about you. Apparently, someone recognized you during the battle. They want to take you home. My heart stopped. What did you tell them? I told them the truth. That you're not a prisoner anymore. That you stayed by choice. She finally met my eyes. That any decision about your future would be yours to make. On the Earth. Family I hadn't seen in 3 years, assuming they even remembered me. A life I'd left behind when I'd been captured, or had left behind long before that, if I was honest with myself. What do you want me to do? I asked quietly. I want you to be happy. Her voice cracked slightly. I want you to have the life you deserve, even if that life is somewhere else. I reached out and took her hand. Her fingers curled around mine automatically, a gesture that had become natural over the years. I already have the life I want, I said. Right here. 7 more years. 7 years of watching the galaxy slowly, painfully, find its way toward peace. The truce that started with that battle eventually became a ceasefire, then formal negotiations, then a treaty that satisfied no one completely but gave everyone something. The Kethvari got their colony worlds, real ones, not scraps. Humanity got security guarantees, and the end of a war that had cost millions of lives. And I stayed. You know they still don't understand us. Vexara looked up from her reading. We were in her quarters. Our quarters, technically, though we'd never formally acknowledged what that meant. Who doesn't understand what? Everyone. I gestured vaguely at the window. Humans think I'm a traitor or a hostage with Stockholm Syndrome. Kethvari think you've gone soft by keeping a pet human around. Neither side can wrap their heads around the truth. And what is the truth? I set down my own datapad and looked at her. 10 years ago, she'd been a terrifying alien warlord. Now she was, well, still terrifying actually. Still the finest commander I'd ever seen. But also my partner, my confidante, the person who knew me better than anyone alive. The truth is that we were both lonely, I said. Both carrying weights we couldn't share with anyone else. And somehow, against all odds, we found someone who could carry that weight with us. She smiled. That rare, precious smile that still made my chest tight after all these years. That's very poetic. Have you been reading human literature again? Shakespeare. Don't judge me. I would never. She stood and crossed to where I sat, settling herself on the arm of my chair. Though I believe you're deflecting from something. I don't deflect. You're deflecting right now. Her hand found my shoulder. What's really bothering you? I sighed. There was no hiding anything from her. Never had been. The diplomatic summit next month. They want you there as the Kethvari representative. I know. They also want me there as some kind of symbol. I shook my head. Proof that our species can coexist. That former enemies can become allies. And this bothers you? It feels like a circus act. Come see the human who betrayed his species for an alien warlord. They'll parade us around like coal. Her voice was gentle but firm. Look at me. I did. Even after 10 years, those amber eyes could still stop my heart. Do you regret it? She asked. Any of it? Staying with me, fighting for peace, building this life? No. Not for a second. Then why do you care what they think? She cupped my face in her hands, a gesture that would have been unthinkable 10 years ago, when she barely understood human affection. We know what we are to each other. We don't need their understanding or their approval. But nothing. She leaned closer. I spent 20 years being what everyone expected me to be. The perfect warrior. The ruthless commander. The symbol of Kethvari strength. And it nearly destroyed me. Her voice dropped. You saved me from that coal. You reminded me that I was allowed to be more than a weapon. That I could be wanted for who I am, not what I represent. My throat tightened. We'd never talked about it quite so directly before. 10 years of growing closer, of learning each other's languages and customs and hearts. And we'd still danced around the core of what we were. I didn't save you, I managed. We saved each other. Then let them have their circus. Let them parade us around as symbols of peace. She pressed her forehead to mine, a Kethvari gesture of deep intimacy. We know the truth. That's enough. Is it? It is for me. She pulled back slightly. The question is whether it's enough for you. I thought about Earth. About the life I might have had. A career, a family, a place where I belonged automatically because of the species I was born into. I thought about all the people who would never understand why I'd made the choices I made. Then I thought about the last 10 years. The battles we'd survived, the peace we'd helped build, the quiet nights when we just sat together watching alien stars. I thought about her laugh, still rare, still precious, and the way she said my name when she thought I was asleep. You know what I realized? I said, that first night, when you asked me the name of the soldier I'd carried, that was the moment I started falling. Her eyes widened slightly. That early? I didn't know it then. Took me years to figure it out. But looking back, that was it. That was the moment I realized you weren't a monster. You were just someone doing impossible things for people you loved. I took her hands. Sound familiar? Cole. I'm not going back, Vexara. Not ever. Not because I can't, but because everything I want is right here. I brought her hands to my lips. So yeah, let's go to their summit. Let them stare and whisper and wonder. And when it's over, let's come home and keep building whatever this is. For a long moment, she was silent. Then she laughed. A full, genuine laugh that I'd only heard a handful of times in a decade. Whatever this is, she repeated. After 10 years, you still can't name it. I don't think our languages have a word for it. Maybe we need to invent one. Maybe we do. She leaned in, and for just a moment, I saw her as she must have been before the war. Young, hopeful, capable of joy. I have a confession. Oh, that first night. I lied about why I chose you. I said I was curious about humans. You also said you wanted company. Also a lie. She took a breath. I chose you because when I looked into your eyes, I saw my own exhaustion reflected back. I saw someone who was tired of fighting but didn't know how to stop. And I thought, maybe, if I kept you close, you could teach me. Teach you what? How to rest. Her voice was barely a whisper. How to stop being a weapon. How to be just Vexara. And did I teach you? She smiled. That smile, the one that was only for me, you did. And you taught me something else too. What? That trophies can become treasures. She kissed my forehead, another human gesture she'd learned, another piece of herself she'd reshaped to include me. That enemies can become allies. And that sometimes, the person who captures you is the one who sets you free. I pulled her close, this alien warlord who had taken me as a trophy and given me a home. This warrior who had shown me that peace wasn't the absence of conflict, but the choice to keep fighting, together. I love you, I said. Words I'd never spoken before, in any language. In case that wasn't clear. It was clear, she murmured against my shoulder. It's been clear for years. And? She pulled back to look at me, and her amber eyes were bright with something I'd never seen before. Not quite tears. Captivity didn't cry the way humans did, but close enough. And I love you too, she said. In case that wasn't clear. It was. It had been for years. The summit came and went. They paraded us around exactly as I'd predicted. Cameras and questions and whispered judgments. The humans called me a collaborator. The Captivity called her soft. We didn't care. Because when it was over, we went home. To our quarters, our life, our strange and impossible love that had grown from captivity and bloomed into choice. She'd taken me as a trophy 10 years ago. I was staying because I wanted to. And that, in the end, was all that mattered.